How's it going, everyone? I am back with another video. This is going to be my week 7 picks video. Can't believe it's already week 7. This season is flying by, even though for me it's been nothing but pain with parlays, fantasy, my team being terrible. But I love football. I'm a football junkie, so entertaining nonetheless. Can't believe it's week 7. So I'll just dive straight in here. Got the Thursday game right. So I think the only Thursday game gotten wrong was week 2, the Bills Dolphins game. Besides that, I got all the Thursday games right, I'm pretty sure. Most of the primetime games I've picked correctly this year. It's just the afternoon games have kind of been what's been killing me. I had a really good week last week. I went 13-1. The only game I got wrong was the Colts Titans, which if you guys watched my week 6 picks video, I was back and forth on that game. I kind of was I was very indecisive, so kind of a little upset that Colts ended up winning that one because I almost picked them, but whatever. That was a coin flip game pretty much. So I'm in the not I mean, the last week helped my record, but not a fantastic record for me. I usually do much better than this, but in my league, I'm in the 87.5%, 87.5 percentile, so I'm doing pretty good in my league at least. But yeah, got the Thursday game right. And yep, first game we got tomorrow morning. We got my team, Pats, and the Jags. I'm going with my team. We probably shouldn't. The Jags probably should win this game. Obviously, both of us were both terrible this year, but the Jags have been playing better than us. They almost beat the Texans. They should have beaten the Dolphins week 1. They beat the Colts, and they started the game well against the Bears, and then they just collapsed. They dropped like 4 touchdowns. It was insane. The Jags have been playing better than us. Something that's concerning me is obviously they played last week in London, so they didn't have to travel. And we just flew to London after practice on Thursday. So that alone right there is concerning. The Jags are the better team, but I'm going with my team. I'm going with my team. I think we're going to do it. And honestly, logically, there's not too much that suggests we should win the game tomorrow. By the way, I think we're 6-point underdogs. I can't believe the line is that high for 2, 1, and 5 teams. But the we trying to logically think of something. But yeah, the reason I'm going to go with my team here, um, honestly, I think Drake May, it being only his second start, you really only have one game of film. He balled out last week. He didn't have you know, he had a really good game. He made a couple mistakes. His second pick wasn't really his fault. The strip sack, that wasn't too much on him. But Drake May balled out last week. He's the only quarterback in the league throw over 200 yards against the Texans I saw. And obviously, the Jags defense has really been struggling this year. So I think if Drake May in the offense was able to do that, be that efficient against the Texans last week, and we weren't like marching up and down the field the whole game. We were really struggling. We barely got any first downs until like the end of the half. That like 50-yard touchdown bomb May threw to Keyshawn Booty. If Yeah, but after that, we kind of moved the ball, right? We scored 14 in the second half. We moved the ball at the end of the game. Ended up not scoring. We think May got sacked, or I forget exactly what happened, how the game ended last week, but probably could have scored. We didn't. Wouldn't have mattered. The game was over, but we moved the ball pretty well in the second half. We're going against the worst Jags defense that compared to the Texans. Texans offense killed us last week, but Jags offense is worse than the Texans. The Jags offense struggled last week. They pretty much struggled the whole year except for that Colts game. So honestly, I think a part of my gut thinks the Jags honestly kind of win this game fairly. Like they kind of just control it and end up winning it. I honestly could see a scenario where they win by like 10 plus. I if I'm picking us to win, but if we win, I don't think we're gonna beat them by more than one score. I think it'll be one score if we win. Very indecisive on this game. I'm the more I talk about it, like the more reasons the Jags should win the game. Maybe it's a little bit of a bias. I'm picking my team, but honestly, it's kind of just a small part of my gut is telling me Drake May and the offense play well, the defense plays well, but the us getting to London late is really kind of deterring me. It's concerning me a little bit, and the Jags being there. Plus, they play really well in London. They didn't really last week, but I mean, they're better. They should win the game. Doug Peterson knows I assume he knows he's on the hot seat. So they really, against us, 1-5, we've been worse than this year. They should win this game. They know that. So they probably should take care of business, which is more of a gut feeling. My team is going to end up winning this game. Hopefully our defense balls out, but I do see a scenario where our defense kind of gets torched. But I just think Drake May is going to have a good game. The offense is going to have a good game. We're going to be able to steal this one, hopefully. This is going to be a good game. Seahawks, Falcons. I'm going to go with the Falcons in this game. Little surprised the percentage of picks isn't a little closer. Seahawks definitely could win this game. These two teams, honestly, are kind of evenly matched. If this was in Seattle, I probably would be picking the Seahawks. Seahawks are just 3 straight losses, start off 3-0. Now they've lost 3 straight. They did get a couple extra days of rest. They played the Niners on Thursday night a couple weeks ago. So that could help them. Falcons have been playing good though. They've won 4 out of their last 5. Obviously that ugly game against the Steelers week 1. They've looked pretty good since then for the most part. They look good against the Panthers. The offense played really well. They got the run game going. The Panthers were kind of neck and neck, keeping it close. The Falcons ended up pulling away as the game went on, especially in the second half. I just think at home, Falcons offense has been playing well. Seahawks defense has been struggling. They're beat up. They're missing tackles, a lot of fundamental things. I think the Falcons offense has a good game in this one. Falcons defense, I see a lot of people kind of shitting on it. They really struggled to get to the quarterback for the most part, but I think Falcons defense has actually been pretty underrated this season. Seahawks offense, it started off hot, but it's not been so great the past couple weeks. After that Detroit game, the Giants and the Niners game, it was really not that good. They picked it up in that Niners game as it went on, especially after that kickoff touchdown return they got. But their offense has just kind of been struggling. Raheem Morris, really good defensive coach. I'm gonna pick us. Like I'm a Falcons fan. I'm gonna pick the Falcons to win this game. I definitely Seahawks could win though. Their defense gets back on track. Their offense gets back on track. They definitely could win this game. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm gonna say Falcons win this game with a score of around. I'll say 20. I'll say 20. You can see the Falcons scoring like 23-ish to 27-ish. I'll say Falcons win like 24-17, 24-20 or something like that. I think this game will be pretty close. I do see a scenario where the Falcons could win by more than one score. And I also see a scenario where the Seahawks kind of take control and the Falcons end up battling back. It looks like they might seal it at the end. The Seahawks just hold on. I could see that, but I'm going to go with the Falcons in this one. I didn't give a score prediction for this game, but I'll say we take this one. I'll say around 23-17 or something like that. Oh, I hope we can win. God help me. Wow. 1% of people in my league are picking the Titans. Jesus. Good Lord. Sorry, Titans. Definitely going with the Bills in this game. I don't think much needs to be said. Bills are obviously the much better team. They're playing better. They're at home. They usually take care of business against bad teams. Titans are bad. They're bad, but they have potential to be scrappy. They were right there with the Colts last week. They were right there with the Jets. They were leading both games. They should have beaten the Bears week 1. So they're right there. They're scrappy. They just can't pull it together. Their offense, a lot of question marks, which, by the way, Mason Rudolph is going to be starting this game. Will Levis, I thought it was a performance thing. And then it said Will Levis his shoulder injury. So I don't know if that played a factor last week because Will Levis, I don't even think had, I want to say he only had 90 something passing yards. So maybe that was a factor last week for them as to why they ran so much and didn't get it to their playmaker like Alvin Ridley, for example. Um, I mean, yeah, Bills just take care of business. They should in this game. This could be a rough one for the Titans. I think Bills take this game. I mean, if the Titans somehow pull off this upset, I think it's going to be because their defense balls out, which their defense has been pretty good this season. So that definitely could happen. But I just think the Titans offense is going to have a rough showing in this one. I think the Bills are honestly going to blow them out. I think the Bills are going to win this game with around score of around, I'll say, I don't know, 30. I'll say 31 to 14, a score of something like that. I feel really confident with the Bills in this game. I would be surprised if the Titans won. Bengals Browns, so only 6% of people on the Browns. I actually considered taking the Browns in this game simply because I say like every week with the Browns, I feel like in my videos, but they have so much talent. So any given week they could just, I don't know, just get it in gear, get it together. But it has really not happened this season. They have been bad, just so they've been such a disappointment. And the Bengals, they came off a good win last week, more of a defensive win. Maybe that defense gets some confidence. They're getting healthy, get some of their defensive linemen back. Since he does, I mean. But yeah, obviously Joe Burrow has really struggled against the Browns in his career. The Browns always play really well against Burrow and the Bengals, so that's a factor. But the Browns have just been so bad this year. Bengals, I think, are starting to pick it up. They know that they need to start piling up some wins. So I think the Bengals are gonna win this game. I feel pretty good saying that, but this small part of my gut is telling me this is the game the Browns kind of click it into gear, even though they also just traded Cooper, by the way. I didn't even mention that. Yeah, Cooper's on the I did in my last video, my week 6 recap video, but Cooper's on the Bills now. So yeah, Browns just I don't think they're tanking, but it's not a good sign when you trade your best receiver in the middle of the season and you're 1-5 with all the struggles and questions the Browns have. But this could be the game they kind of click it into gear and they play well against the Bengals and Burrow. But I think the Bengals defense plays another good game, probably hold the Browns to another bad offensive game, probably around 14 to 17-ish points. I think the Bengals offense, I don't think they have a like elite day, but I think they have an efficient day where I think the Browns, this is going to be low scoring to start, and it's going to be right there. And then the Bengals, as the game progresses, kind of just takes it, pulls it away. I'm going to say Bengals win this game with a score of around, I'll say 24 to 14, 27, 14, something like that in Cincy's favor. Texans Packers. I cannot wait to watch this game. So almost a 50-50 split. 53 on the Texans, 47% on the Packers in my league. I'm going to go with the Packers in this game. And as weird as this is going to sound, I actually feel fairly confident with them. Of course, the Texans could win this game. The Texans are obviously a really good team. Their defense has been balling out all season. It's picked it up as the year's gone on. Their offense has been balling out. But I think this is the game where it shows the Texans going to miss Nico Collins. Really, when Nico Collins went out again in that Bills game, they were able to move the ball. They really did not score. I think he only scored 3 points after he went out. Or 6 points. I think they got I think 6 points. They got the field goal to open the second half, and they got the game winner against Buffalo. So I think they only scored 6 points. Obviously, against us, they went off, but our defense was kind of due for a bad game. They've been pretty solid all year. We're banged up. We're missing a lot of guys, a lot of like friggin' legal issues, and the Jabril Peppers. Then Barmore's out the whole year with blood clot. Just Jesus. Defensively, we just were missing a lot of guys. We were kind of due for an off game. and I think that was it. We just got absolutely killed last week, but Packers defense has been really, really good this year. They look great against, well, all year they've looked great, but they looked especially great against the Cardinals last week, especially that first half. The Cardinals did almost nothing on offense, and their offense has been pretty good, even with Malik Cunningham or um, Malik Cunningham. What the hell am I saying? Why the hell am I blanking on his name? Malik Willis. Jesus, I don't know why the hell I got those two mixed up. The two games Malik Willis started for the Packers. Yeah, it's just my New England. I miss Malik Cunningham. He was a nice addition to their preseason 2023. Wish we could have kept him for me some package plays. We kept him one game against the Raiders, and it was a disaster. We ran like one point, and it resulted in a fumble. So, oh God, oh, Malik Cunningham. He was fun to watch in the preseason 2 years ago. But anyway, back to this game. I think the Packers defense has a really good performance in this one. As I was saying about, I think it's the game they're going to miss Nico Collins, the Texans. Their offense, I think, is going to have a good game. Matt LaFleur, one of the best game planners in football, really good adjuster. He likes, that's a really, an adjuster, that really weird word. He's a really good at making adjustments as the game goes on. So I think Matt LaFleur is going to have a good game plan. The Packers offense is going to have a better day than people think. I think the Packers are going to score around 24 in this game. And I think the Texans offense is going to be good enough. I think they're going to score about 20. I think Packers are going to win 24-20. I think if the Texans win this game, I think it's definitely within a one score, a couple points. If the Packers win, I'm predicting a very close game, a one score win for them, but I could see a scenario where the Packers win by more than one score and kind of just control the game, honestly. But I'm going to predict a close game. Texans are due for a loss, though. They're 5-1. If they win this, they'll be 6-1. So they are due for a loss. The Packers are just, they played really well all season. Love looked good last week. He looks better is the more time he plays coming back from his ankle injury. I just think the Packers offense is a good game plan. They execute well. Their defense balls out, and the Texans play good. Their defense forces a couple stops, but their offense is just comes up a bit short in this one. The Packers win 24-20. Really good game. Of course, the Texans, I'm tempted to pick them, but even though I am kind of fairly confident with the Packers, of course they could win. Honestly, this is kind of close to a coin flip game, but I'm going to stick with the Packers. Can't wait to watch that game, though. Dolphins, Colts. So definitely going with the Colts in this game, even though I'm pretty sure they ruled Jonathan Taylor out. Obviously, I'd feel better about that with my Colts pick if Taylor was playing, but I'm going to still stick with them. If Tua was playing, this would be a lot harder, but Tyler Huntley looked pretty good against us. They got the run game going, though. The Colts defense has been bad in general all year, but especially in the run game. I talked about it in my week 6 recap video, but that 3rd and 19 touchdown run they gave up to Pollard when the Titans were just trying to get some extra yards for a chip shot field goal. That was just terrible on the Colts defense. That was just awful on their part. So the Dolphins could have a good offensive game running the ball. Huntley could give them issues scrambling. They could get the passing game going. Huntley looked pretty good against us passing the ball. That was the last time they played. They had the bye last week. So, maybe the bye, extra week of rest, get some. The Dolphins are super banged up. They're missing a lot of defensive guys, too. But, maybe heal up. You get an extra week to prepare. Maybe get some guys back from injury. But especially they're on the road in Indy. This is in Miami. I probably would pick the Colts still, but I would be very, very close to me. But I kind of picked the Colts, though. Too much hesitation. Anthony Richardson is going to be back, by the way, which honestly, I think Flacco's been playing better than him. So I honestly think that might be a little worse at the moment, but Richardson will be fine. He'll have his bad turnover that he seems to have, like his Will Levis bad turnovers he's been having this year. But I think Richardson will be fine. he's a baller. He's just going to get better as he gets more experience. I think the Shane Steichen has a really good game plan in this one. I think they pound the ball even though they don't have Jonathan Taylor. Richardson is a good passing day. I think the Colts just have an efficient offense game. They're going to score around, I'll say 20, I'll say 24 to 27 points. I'll say 27. I th I think this is the Colts defense. Part of my gut's telling me the Colts defense is a good game, and I think it looks like the Dolphins might look like an offense quarterbacked by Tyler Huntley again. So I'm gonna say the Dolphins. I'll say the Dolphins score 17. The Colts win by like 10, 27-17 or something around there. I do think that how do I do think this game could be like fairly close, like within shouting distance to the Dolphins. The Colts end up hanging on. If the Dolphins win, it would surprise me a little bit, but I wouldn't be absolutely shocked. So yeah, definitely gonna go with the Colts in this game though. Oh boy, here is another exciting game to watch. Lions and Vikings. There's a lot of hard games to pick that could go either way this week, so I'm probably gonna have a rough week of picks, honestly. I'm gonna go with the Vikings in this game. Let me see who is. Well, looks like the Vikings are favored just from the minus 125. Let me see the line on this game. I'm assuming. I don't know who's going to be favored. If this was in Detroit, the Lions would definitely be favored. But um, where is this game? Did I miss? I scroll right past it. Okay, Vikings are favored by 1, so it's nearly a pick'em league with the spread, at least in my sports book. If this was in Detroit, I would probably be picking the line. I don't want to say 100%, but I most likely would be picking the Lions. Vikings at home, coming off a bye. Their previous 2 wins, they got to kind of clean some things up offensively. They nearly blew a 28-0 lead to the Packers. They kind of stagnated on offense, got a little bit complacent, but they were able to move the ball at the end when they needed to, get some points on the board. The Jets game, they were up 17-0, just completely stalled. They had pretty much nothing offensively up until that. They got a field goal based off of default field position, pretty much, and because they got a good punt return. And then they had a nice drive. They were able to move the ball, get a couple first downs, kick a field goal at the end, and go up 6. And their defense ended up hanging on. But so they have some things to clean up. They probably cleaned it up. They'll be fine, I'm sure. Ken O'Connell, really good offense coach, really good game plan every week, it seems like. Aiden Hutchinson being out obviously is going to favor the Vikings. Even if Hutchinson was playing, I would probably lean Vikings, but with him being out, I feel a little bit better about the Vikings. I just think coming off the bye, clean some things up, you get an extra week to prepare. This is if you want a team to play after a bye, a big division game like this is a pretty ideal time to be coming off the bye if you have Minnesota here. I think they got a good game plan. The Lions defense has been balling out this season though, so it's hard to. I think maybe the Vikings start off hot and then they kind of like after a couple of drives, the Lions defense kind of holds them, similar to the Jets game, maybe. I think the Vikings offense will play well enough to score around. Oh boy, I'll say 24-ish. I could see maybe 27-ish, but I'll say 24-ish. Lions offense they've kind of were just like, what the hell is going on in the first couple weeks, but they have been really clicking the past few weeks. They went off against Seattle. Goff had a perfect passing game, an 18 of 18. Obviously, last week they just swatted the Cowboys. They put up what 49, I think, if I remember right. So that was obviously an offensive masterclass. But you're going against the Vikings defense, which has given teams issues this year. Obviously, Brian Flores' disguise scheme causing a lot of issues. You prepare for one thing, then you snap the ball and it's something else. That's an issue. But good thing is for the Lions, you got Ben Johnson, one of the best offensive coordinator, are probably the best offensive coordinator in the league. He will almost certainly get a head coaching job this offseason. I'm shocked that it was his decision not to take one, but I'm surprised he got interviews last year and he didn't take one. That was surprising to me. But you get one of the best offensive game planners. They both these games last year, even though obviously last year you don't want to base too much off of it. It was towards the end of the year, and the Lions won both of them, but they were both shootouts. Even with Nick Mullins in there, it was a shootout. So Sam Darnold's been playing really good this year. So obviously Sam Darnold is an upgrade over Nick Mullins. Well, Sam Darnold this year, at least to the first couple of games of the Vikings, first 6 weeks of the season, is, well, 5 games, I guess, of the Vikings with the bye, is an upgrade over Nick Mullins, how he was playing from the last year. No, Nick Mullins is playing pretty good. Kevin O'Connell just makes every quarterback look good with the Vikings. He's such a good offensive coach. So if Nick Mullins is able to score a bunch of points, get a bunch of yards against the Lions in 2 games last year, I think Sam Darnold, with how well he and the offense playing, can do the same thing. But the Lions defense is better than it was last year, so that's the thing. But the Vikings defense right now is playing better than it was when these two teams played last year. So that's the other thing. This is a really hard game to pick. Really hard game to pick. 60-40 split, so a pretty close to even split, sort of. Oh, God. Yeah, this is really hard. Yeah, I'm gonna. I mean, the Lions, I think at the end of the year, the Lions, it's going to come down to, I think, Lions and Packers for winning the division. I think the Lions are the better team than the Vikings. But it's just the Vikings coming off the bye. They're at home, extra week to prepare. You put up all those points with Mullins last year. You get an even better offense this year with, you have your actual quarterback one this year. Well, I guess two, because McCarthy looked like he was probably going to be number one. But the Lions are on fire. Their defense has been balling out. Their offense has been balling out. That is going to be the storyline to watch in this game for me, is the Lions offense versus the Vikings defense. Ben Johnson versus Brian Flores, the chess match there. It's going to be interesting. I honestly, I think the Lions have another really good offensive game. I could see the Lions, their first try, they just go right down the field, score. Maybe they stop the Vikings. They kind of control the game. Minnesota comes back late. It looks like they might steal it. Lions hold on. I could see that scenario. I don't see either team blowing the other team out. I think regardless of which team wins, it's going to be a one-score game. But I'm just going to give the Vikings a very slight edge because they're home, coming off the bye. I think they'll be able to put up a good amount of points. And their defense, I think, is going to get that one extra stop that they need. I mean, the Lions, 2 games in a row, they've been unstoppable offensively. So I guess they're really going to make it 3 against this defense. Maybe they're going to take it a little step back. Vikings, they kind of got the reset with their hot streak as far as being due for a bad game. Okay, how do I describe this? The Vikings are due for a game where they just look horrible all around, but especially because they've been narrowly winning a couple of their games, especially their past 2. They almost blew 2 big leads. But because the bye week, I think that their due factor kind of cancels out. I guess hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Such a hard game to pick, though. This is such a hard game to pick. I'm going to give the very slight edge to the Vikings. I'm going to say they win. I'm going to say 27, 23, 24, something like that. I would not at all be surprised the Lions win. This is honestly like a 55-45 probability for me. Ooh, super indecisive about this game. Cannot wait to watch this game. Oh, God, do I pick the Lions? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to stick with the Vikings. Oh, God. Okay, Eagles, Giants. I have the upset here. Only 10% of people have picked the Giants in my league. I'm going to pick the Giants. The Eagles have really not been that impressive this season. They're only 3-2. And yes, they've been banged up. They've had injuries more so offensively, but they got their guys back last week and they struggled to beat a Browns team that is just an absolute dumpster fire right now. And they were at home coming off the bye. Some teams coming off the bye, they're a little sluggish, rusty, but the Eagles just have not played great this season. They've they just have not they're not they have not put together like a complete team performance that they're capable of with all that talent on the team. The Giants are 2-4, but their defense and their defensive line has been balling out. Their offense has been playing pretty good too. Last week they only put up 7. They should have put up 13. They missed 2 field goals, but their offense has been able to move the ball fairly efficiently. They looked unstoppable against the Seahawks 2 weeks ago, and they're getting Neighbors back and Singletary. Tyrone Tracy is getting it going too. He's probably going to cut into Singletary's snaps because he's been playing so well. The Eagles' offense hasn't looked that great. The Giants' defense has looked great. I think the Giants' defense is going to have a pretty good game in this one. And the Eagles' defense is torchable. It's been torched a lot this year. It's also looked solid at points this year. But Daboll is a good offensive coach, good game planner. Giants' offense has been able to move the ball. I think they're able to move the ball, and their issue has been in the red zone. They kind of struggled to score touchdowns as this year, pretty much. They settle for a lot of field goals, and I think they're going to be able to punch some drives into the end zone and avoid settling for multiple field goals. They'll probably end up getting a field goal or two in this game. And I think their offense is going to be able to finish some drives with touchdowns instead of field goals. And the Giants defense is going to have a good performance. Of course, the Eagles could win. They probably should win this game. They're favored. They should win. Let me see how much the Eagles are favored by, actually. Let's see. Um, Eagles are where the hell did I scroll right past the game? Oh, there they are. Eagles are favored by 3. That seems about right. They should win the game. They're more talented, even though they haven't been great this year. They are the better team so far this year. I just I don't know, just kind of a gut feeling in this one. Even though I could see a scenario where the Eagles offense plays really good, but my gut's just telling me the Eagles offense kind of plays like it has been all year, and for except really that Brazil game, which I talked about in some of my videos. That was just a weird game with all the fundamental flaws, players slipping left and right. Besides that game, their offense has really not been that great. And yes, I know they were missing Brown and Smith for parts of the year, but still. And their offensive line was banged up, but still just does not look great. Even when they got him back last week, they didn't look great, even though the Brown defense is kind of underrated this year. Their team's just so bad, no one's talking about it. Not as good as last year's defense, but I don't know. I could see a scenario where the Eagles defense balls out, Giants offense struggles. I think even though I do see a scenario where the Eagles offense plays good, I think the Giants defense plays good. They end up holding the Eagles to around 17 to 20-ish. And I think the Giants offense kind of has an efficient game. The Eagles defense doesn't look too great. Maybe forces a couple punts, but for the most part, I think the Giants have an efficient offensive day, and they're going to be able to score around, I'll say 23, 24-ish. I think this will be a close game. I don't think the Giants are going to blow the Eagles. I do see a scenario where maybe they can win by like 10, but I don't think much more than that. That's kind of pushing it a little bit. I do see a scenario where the Eagles honestly could just blow the Giants. They'll win by more than one score. But I think the Giants are going to win this game. Just kind of more of a gut feeling in this one. I think their defense is just going to kind of be the X factor in this game, and they're going to be able to hold on, get a good solid win. Much needed wins. They want to make the playoffs. They've been very sneaky this year. Raiders, Rams. Oh boy, the Raiders are just oof. They're not as much of a dumpster fire as the Browns, but they just traded Adams. They just started Aiden O'Connell last week. They have no run game. The Rams are coming off the bye, so just like the Vikings and the what other team? Dolphins. I was kind of talking about with get an extra week of rest. You get some guys back maybe come in with fresh legs. So I think that's going to be a factor. The I just think the Rams are due for a win. They're 1-4. They are much better than 1-4. Even how banged up they've been right there. They nearly beat the Bears. They nearly beat the Packers. They nearly beat the Lions. And I know it doesn't matter if they nearly beat a team, but I I just think the Rams are good and they've proven it. They're just super banged up. But even with how banged up they are, even if they weren't coming off the bye, I feel pretty confident in them. But them coming off the bye, McVay's an extra week to prepare an already really good offensive coach going against a struggling Raiders team. Raiders defense is kind of been it's been pretty mid this season, pretty mediocre. It's kind of showed the past couple weeks. I think the Rams have a really good offensive game. Their defense, the Rams, has kind of been pretty good, with the exception of that Cardinals game. They were terrible, but the Rams defense has been pretty good this year, which is honestly a little bit surprising to me. The Raiders offense is just really struggling, especially running the ball. I think the Rams defense has a good performance. Raiders offense has a rough performance, just like they had most of the year. The Rams offense, I think, has a really good game plan, executes well. I think the Rams obviously know they need to win this game. They're 1-4. They really cannot afford to go 1-5, especially at home, coming off a bye against a struggling football team that's kind of fallen off the rails here. So they know they need to win this game. And I think they come out tomorrow and simply take care of business against a struggling team. And they get a much needed win to go to 2-4. And I think they get hot from this point on. I think the Rams probably finish around 10-7 ish like last year, end up getting one of the wild card spots. So I feel pretty confident with the Rams. If the Raiders win this game, I really honestly don't see a scenario where they win. I feel pretty confident with the Rams. If the Raiders somehow win, I'm gonna say it's because their offense is the random offensive explosion game. They just ball out. But honestly, I feel really confident with the Rams in this one. I think they win this game with a score of around, I'll say 28, I'll say 14-17, around there for the Raiders, but I feel pretty confident with the Rams in this one. Okay, I get some water here. Okay. Panthers, Commanders. So, this is the first time all year I'm picking the Commanders. It's week 7. Swear to God, I'm not a Commanders hater. Swear to God. I feel really confident with the Commanders. The only thing that is concerning is the Panthers are obviously a bad team, but they do have the capability to be a sneaky team with Dalton. They can put up points, and the Commanders defense, it's played pretty well the past couple weeks. They got, I think, torched more than the scoreboard indicates against the Ravens last week. Ravens were able to move the ball pretty much the whole game, but the prior 2 weeks they played really well, but prior to that they did not play well. But I think the Commanders defense, they do have a good game in this one, but I could see a scenario where the Panthers offense has a really efficient day. They're able to score. The Panthers defense is just so bad, and the Commanders offense and Jane Daniels has been really good. They didn't have a great game last week, but I think they bounce back in this one. They have a really good game. I think they score around, I'll say, hmm, uh, I'll say 28 points. I can honestly see like 31, maybe even 35. The Panthers defense is just so bad. I think Jane Daniels scrambling is going to be an issue. I think he's going to have a good passing day. They're going to get the run game going. I honestly don't know. Brian Robinson is back. I assume so because I think he was a game time decision last week. I want to say, or maybe he was announced out the day before. I honestly forget. But even without him, I feel really confident with the Commanders. The only logic that says the Panthers could win is what I was just talking about. With the Panthers do have the ability with Dalton to put up a good amount of points, but I just think their defense is just really bad, and the Commanders' offense is able to just really torch them most of this game. This is going to be a long game for the Panthers, I think. Although the Panthers' opening drives the past 2 weeks have been really good. So, well, their opening drives and Dalton started taking over. I think they've scored a touchdown on their opening drives for, yeah, I think every game Dalton started except the Bengals game, and they probably should have. They got stuffed at the goal line, like at the 1 yard line, like 2 plays in a row. So I think it was like second and goal from like the 2, and they weren't able to punch it in 3 plays. So maybe they could get a opening drive touchdown, but even if they do that, I feel like the Commanders are going to win this game. I'll say 20. Honestly, I'll say 31. I'll up the Commanders a couple points. I'll say 31 to, I'll say 17 for the Panthers. Maybe they get a garbage time touchdown late, make the game look more respectable. I just think the Commanders defense does have a good game in this one though, and they're just gonna take care of business. Chiefs Niners. So I originally had the Niners, and then the more I thought about it and watched some people talk about it, I'm switched the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs kind of just own the Niners. Obviously, they beat them the 2 Super Bowls the past couple of years. They beat them 2 years ago in the regular season. They had a really good offensive game plan. The Niners are just super banged up right now, especially defensively. I mean, their Jake Moody was out, and then their Matthew Wright is on IR now from the tackle he made on the kickoff. So they have they have oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? Oh, Anders Carlson. Yes, the Packers rookie kicker last year, who was he was super inconsistent for them last year. So that could be an issue. I mean, I don't think their kicker is going to be the reason they lose this game, but they're just super banged up, especially defensively. The Chiefs are coming off a bye. They game plan well every week, but especially off a bye with Andy Reid. He has a history of I don't know his exact record, but he has a really good record off the bye. They usually execute really well. This is a game they probably have circled. Both teams, obviously, the Niners have more motivation to get revenge since they lost pretty much like every game against the Chiefs in the past couple of years, but obviously the Super Bowl, the most recent one. So this is game circled on their calendar. Maybe extra motivation. They really want to ball out in this one, so that maybe that's why they win. But I just think the Chiefs coming off a bye have a really good offensive game plan. The Niners defense isn't as good as it has been in the past couple of years, especially with how banged up they are. Although they did play pretty well against Seattle. That opening kickoff gave the Seahawks some offense momentum. But besides that, the Niners defense played really well against Seattle. The Chiefs defense is really good. It's been balling out all year. Oh my God, I just got a notification on my watch that Aiden Hutchinson has a realistic chance to play in the Super Bowl if Detroit makes a championship run. Wow. Well, that would be huge for them. I thought it said Richardson could return in Super Bowl. I'm like, what the hell is Bleacher Report talking about? But anyway, what was I saying? Yes, Chiefs defense has been balling out this year. I think they have a pretty good game plan in this one. I think the Niners offense, they play better than they did in the Super Bowl, but I think the Chiefs defense is going to be able to contain them for a good portion of the game. I think the Niners score around, I'll say 20-ish points. And even though the Chiefs, obviously their receivers, it's a question marks all around the board. Are they going to make a trade? They played really good last week against the Saints. The Saints just fell off a cliff though. But as well as they played, it was a a 4-point game in the fourth quarter. I don't know how the hell the game was that close. I talked about that in my week 6 recap video. But I just think the Chiefs offense has a good game plan. They execute well, kind of take advantage of the Niners defense not being as good as it has been the past couple of years and all the injuries they have. Although Ward is going to be back for the Niners, so that's good. At least I think so. He is a full participant in practice I saw all week, so I'm going to assume he's 100% ready, or maybe not 100%, but going to play in the game. So that's good for the Niners. But I just think the Chiefs offense coming off a bye, their game plan, it's just going to be what ends up winning them this game. I think this game is, I do see a scenario where the Chiefs could win by 10 to 13-ish points. If the Niners win, I definitely think it's within a one-score game, but I'm going to say the Chiefs win like 20, I'll say 26. What did I say for the Niners? 23? I'll say 26, 23, something like that. Maybe 27, 23. I think it's a close game. It's fair. Kind of would not at all be surprised if the Niners win. I had them originally and switched. They probably will win just based off of that, if nothing else. I just think the Chiefs coming off the bye is going to be, even if they weren't, I would probably pick the Chiefs. But the Chiefs, big games like this, they typically win. They play really well and they typically win. I don't know. The Niners just aren't as good as at least so far, they aren't as good as they have been the past couple years right now. Except 2 years ago, these teams faced, and the Niners were 3-3. They lost to go to 3-4, and then they won out the rest of the year and up until the conference championship game against the Eagles. So I don't think they'll win out if they lose this game, but who knows? Maybe this is the game they get hot after. Who knows? History repeats itself a little bit. But the Chiefs are obviously extremely overdue for a loss. They keep winning ugly game after ugly game. The key for any team to beat the Chiefs, especially with all the receiver injuries, especially if they do not trade for a receiver, is to just have a really good offensive game because the Chiefs have been winning off of their defense. If the opposing team's offense is able to put up a shitload of points, like in the high 20s, low 30s, the Chiefs offense is going to have a tough time keeping up with them due to their lack of receivers, I think. So that's the team, or the key to beat the Chiefs with any team. Obviously, Shanahan, a really good offensive game planner. They are going to get, I think Jordan Mason's back in this one, so obviously that's going to be a boost for them. They, at home, this is in KC, I would feel more confident the Chiefs, but at home, the Niners, I want to say they should win the game, but honestly, I don't know if I should say that. I don't know. I just think the Chiefs take care of business in this one. I'll be rooting for the Niners though, because I cannot stand the Chiefs. I actually hate them and hate Mahomes. So I hope they lose, but I'm gonna say they take care of business and end up winning a close one here. Jets Steelers. The Jets were on. I was going to pick them even without Davante Adams, but Davante Adams, obviously, they traded for him. He's expected to play. They were underdogs, I think, before the Adams trade, and then after they traded for Adams, I think they're like a 1.5 favorite right now. I want to say something like that. I just think the Jets are 2-4, but I don't think they've been playing as bad as the media's been portraying them as. I mean, they were 2-1. The media was all over them. They're getting hot. Rodgers is getting hot. He led the league in touchdowns. Or I think he was tied. He was either tied or led the league in passing touchdowns, I think, 3 weeks into the year. And then the Broncos game, obviously, they lost. The Vikings game, they lost. Their defense balled out in both those games. More so the Broncos one, obviously. The Vikings game, their defense started off rough, but then they just clamped the Vikings pretty much the whole game after that. And then the Jets defense had a rough start against the Bills this past Monday night, but then they really clamped down. Bills, I think they I think they were held to, yeah, the Bills. I forget the exact scoring, but I want to say the Bills only got like 2 field goals in this, maybe one, I think 2 field goals in the second half, something like maybe even one. Honestly, I forget the exact scoring sequences, but the Jets offense looked pretty good under Todd Downing. That was Aaron Rodgers probably his best game as a Jet. He looked really good. They had a couple nice play action designs, got the run game going. It looked like a typical Aaron Rodgers offense. So the offense, if the offense plays as good as it did last week, I think they definitely win this game. I think the Steelers defense is it's balling out. Steelers offense, they're also starting Russell Wilson in this game. So if the Steelers offense is a rough showing, which they very well could, the Steelers offense has been very great this year. Um, yeah, they haven't been great this year. Just thinking here. They haven't been great this year. They put up over 30 last week against the Raiders, but they didn't really have a great efficient. Sorry, I'm looking at my text as I'm talking. They didn't have a great efficient game offensively, but yeah, this is. I feel actually fairly good with the Jets, but if the Steelers' offense is a rough showing, there's going to be people calling Mike Tomlin or not calling him like his cell phone, but like the media, I mean, calling him out. Like what the hell are you benching Fields for? You start Russ. Now did we lose? The offense didn't look good. Fields is 4-2. He looked pretty solid. Like what the hell's going on? Why'd you make that decision? So if the Steelers lose in general, that's probably going to be the narrative. But just their offense doesn't have a good game. So I mean, the Jets defense is really good still. I think the Jets defense plays well. Steelers offense, I just kind of talked about it, hasn't been great this year. I think they have the same style offense as they ran with Field. So I don't think from a film perspective the Jets have to prepare for too much differently. Um, maybe I think Russ is going to scramble a little bit less than Fields. I just think the Jets defense is a really good game. I think they're going to hold the Steelers to around 17-ish. And I think the Jets offense, even though I think the Steelers defense is going to have a good game, I think this is kind of maybe a bit similar to the Cowboys Steelers a couple weeks ago on Sunday night, but a little bit high scoring, more high scoring. I think the Jets offense is going to be able to move the ball, probably settle. I think this is a field goal heavy game both ways, but Jets offense probably have to settle for some field goals. I just think the Jets offense is going to be able to get an extra touchdown or two. That's going to be the deciding factor. Plus, Vontae Adams, I think he honestly is going to have a really good game. Just a gut feeling. I think Rodgers and Adams, the connection it's back. It's going to have a really good performance in this one. But the Steelers at home prime time, they really going to lose 2 Sunday night games in a row at home? Oh, that's hard. I mean, the Steelers, of course, could win. If the Steelers win, I think it's because their defense is a really good showing. I feel pretty confident saying the Steelers are only going to score between 17 and 20, barring like a pick six or, a pick that sets them right up in the end zone or a good punt return, stuff like that. I feel pretty confident the Steelers only score between 17 and 20, but their defense, I definitely could see their defense holding the Jets to like 14-17 in the maybe 20, something like that. But I'm going to say Jets offense gets that extra touchdown or two that decides this game, helps them win it. Their defense is a really good showing. I'm going to say the Jets win this game. The score around, I'll say 23-17 or something like that. I feel fairly confident with the Jets, honestly, and the line shifted in their favor, so Vegas feels pretty good about them too. So yeah, if the Jets were home here, if the Jets were home here, I'd feel even better. But yeah, I think the Jets take this one, but not at all be surprised if the Steelers do. I think there's going to be a lot of questions if the Steelers lose this game as to why Mike Tomlin decided to start Russ. Okay, let me get a sip of water. Hate when they do 2 Monday night games, pain in the ass to keep up with. Both these games, I think, are actually going to be exciting. Obviously, this game probably more than this game, but this probably a lot more scoring in this one than this one. But Ravens Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Ravens, but I'm honestly very indecisive. Logically, honestly, the in my head, I think logically more suggests the Bucks should win this game than the Ravens because the Ravens defense has been struggling. Even though they played pretty good last week, they not shut down, but they played a pretty good game against Jane Daniels. Commanders offense has been absolutely insane this year. Held them to 20. I think 20. They held them to 20. And the Bucks offense, besides Ravens defense has been struggling for most of the year. The exception really of last week and the that Bills game and the Sunday night game at Baltimore. Bucks offense has been absolutely lighting it up every game this year except that Denver game where they really struggled. But again, that was they had injuries. The injuries really show they just played bad. That was just a bad game for them. That happens, that's like 1 or 2 games for every team, regardless. So I mean, the Bucks coming off a game where they just put up 51 on offense. So the Bucks defense is also getting healthy. Winfield, I don't think he played as many snaps as he normally as much as he normally does. But he was a bit limited last week, working his way back from the injury, even though he did have that fumble, swoop, and score. So he's probably gonna get his workload up a little bit in this one. Although Vita Vea, I think they added him to the injury report today. He's questionable. Mike Evans is good to go. He was a bit banged up last week. He had a hamstring injury, but he's good to go this week. I could see a scenario where the Bucks offense just lights it up. I don't think they'll score 51, but they score like 31-ish, maybe up to 35. Just torch the Ravens defense, and the Bucks defense plays really well. Todd Bowles is really good defensive planner, obviously defensive coach. But so I could see a scenario where they kind of really give the Ravens a difficult time offensively. The Bucks defense balls out. But the reason I'm going to go with the Ravens is they're red hot too right now. They've won 4 in a row. Games like this, the Ravens usually win. They take care of business in big games like this. I think Derrick Henry is going to have a good game, but I think the Bucks defense is going to be able to not shut Derrick Henry down, but they'll be able to slow him down and force the Ravens into a bit more of a passing game. Obviously, Todd Bowles likes to send the blitz. Maybe Lamar scrambles out of it, causes some issues with his mobility, his legs, running the football. He gets the ball. Lamar's pretty good a lot of the time at getting the ball quick. That's obviously a good way to beat the blitz. So there's that. I just think the Ravens defense, I just think my gut is telling me they kind of play similar to how they did last week against the Commanders. The Bucks are due for an offense, kind of a bad offensive game, an off offensive game rather. Put up 51 last week. They put up 30 something against the Falcons. So they are due for kind of an off game. These two teams I know this is 2 years ago. This is obviously they were both completely separate teams, but 2 years ago when Tom Brady was still on the team, I remember this game pretty well. The Bucks they took an early lead. They forced a 3-and-out, I think, on the first series of the game. Then they muffed a punt. Ravens got a field goal. Bucks scored 10 straight after that. And then their offense really struggled, and the Ravens got the run game going. I could see a scenario in this game that this game plays out like that game. I'm just trying to think of it here. Oh boy, really tough one here. I'm honestly surprised it isn't closer with the percentage picks. I figured this would be closer to like a maybe 60-40 split, but it's almost 80-20. A little bit surprised at that. I just think the Ravens offense is a really good game. I think Lamar gets the ball quick, causes mobility issues or his mobility rather, causes issues for the Bucks defense. I think the Ravens put up a good amount of points in this one, but I could see the Bucks defense playing well. Uh, oh God, I don't know. I think the Ravens score around, I'll say 24, and the Bucks score around 20. I'm not very confident at all. I just good to see the Bucks offense lights it up. Really tough in this one. Just kind of a gut feeling that the Ravens take care of business, win, and they grind it out close game. Just uh, the Bucks do have a tendency in the Todd Bowles era, a game like this that can go either way. You're at home to kind of lose it. So I'm gonna say the Ravens end up winning this game, but it would not at all surprise me if the Bucks end up winning this game. Very indecisive. Super excited to watch this one though. I'm gonna go with the upset in this one too. I'm gonna go with the Cardinals. I was leaning Chargers, and then again, kind of thought about it more. Listened to some people talk about the game. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the Cardinals. Chargers should win this game. They played better than the Cardinals this season. They're favored. Let me see how much they're favored by. Um, let's see. Um, yeah, Chargers are favored by 2. That sounds about right. So yeah, the reason the Chargers have been able to win this season is because their defense has been super phenomenal. They've been balling out this year. Every game they played. That Steelers, the second half, they kind of let the ball go a little there. They didn't play too great in the second half against the Steelers, but they were beat up. But with the exception of that game, they balled out the whole year. And even in that game, they played pretty well. The Steelers could have scored at the end to score like 30, but I think they held them to 23 that game, if I remember right. I want to say the final was like 10 to 23 or something like that. Can't remember exactly at the top of my head, but I just kind of just have a gut feeling this game. The Cardinals offense gets it going. Kyler Murray gets it going in the run game. He scrambles a lot in this game, causes a bunch of issues for the Chargers. Cardinals offense has kind of been lacking since that Rams game. They haven't played too great. They hit a spark in the fourth quarter against San Francisco a couple weeks ago. They came back, but then last week obviously they did a disastrous offensive game, especially in the first half. Just a gut feeling that they get it going in this one. Kyler hurts them in the run game. James Conner is a good game. They have a good game passing. Chargers defense, as much as they balled out, they're kind of due for a bad game. I just think the mobility issue is going to hurt them a lot, and the Cardinals offense is going to play really good. And the Chargers offense has not been great this year, and neither is the Cardinals defense. But I mean, I don't think, even though the Cardinals defense hasn't been playing good, the Chargers offense is just, it's struggled to consistently score the ball this year. And the Cardinals defense has shown signs of being a really good defense. So I think the Cardinals defense is a good showing. I think this is a close game regardless. A very small part of my gut says the Cardinals somehow win this game by more than one score. But if the Chargers win, I definitely think it's a close game. I mean a one score game. But I think it's a one score game anyway. I'm gonna say the Cardinals, yeah, their defense plays well enough to hold the Chargers to around, I'll say 17 maybe, and I'll say the Cardinals get 23. Actually, yeah, that's why I hit it as my final score. I said 40 as a total points tiebreaker here. So yeah, I would not at all be surprised if the Chargers win. Probably should win, but just kind of a gut feeling in this one about the Cardinals. Okay, got all the games here. A lot of exciting games this week. Super excited for my team, even though it's a battle of 1 and 5 at Tank Bowl in London. Please just let us win this game, God. Please, God Almighty. Super pumped for this game. Kind of excited for this game too. Obviously super pumped for this one. Excited to see how this one plays out. So I'm super excited for this one. Super excited for this game too. And this one I'm super pumped for. And I think this is more of a low scoring defensive game. So this one's probably going to be the better of the two games. But super not super pumped, but kind of anxious to see, or not anxious, but excited to see how this game goes too. Excited to see how most of these games go. I think a lot of these games could go either way, so hopefully my record doesn't get tanked as I finally have a good record last week. But who knows? I need to friggin' start hitting parlays again. My fantasy team, oh god, a big fantasy week for me. My defending championship team, I started Cortland Sutton this past week in two of my leagues, so that was a nice performance. 0 targets, so 0 points. So, yep, that describes my fantasy season so far, pretty much. A lot of exciting games this week, though. Hopefully, can cook up a parlay. There's not too many teams I'm confident with, though. I usually only bet a money line parlay of the teams I'm fairly confident with. There's not too many of them this week. Bills, Packers, maybe Bengals, Colts, or not Packers. I'm not super confident in them. I'm going to bet them in a parlay. Colts, maybe, though. Rams, Commanders. It's just not going to be a good odds parlay because these teams are favored by a good amount. But anyway, I'll wrap the video up here. A lot of good, exciting games this week. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Good luck with your fantasy teams, betting, all that good stuff, as I always say. I am going to record my Drake May film breakdown video right after I end this video. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, I'll wrap this video up here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good week watching football. Best of luck and everything football related. And yeah, take it easy, guys. Thank you for watching.